good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. This is your Edmonton Oilers, I guess you could say, report for the day. We're out and about waiting for my brother to get things set up for this evening's plans. So we'll just talk some Edmonton Oilers live from the car once again. We don't even have the computer in here today, which is kind of crazy. But friends, last night was a magical treat. Yes, it's the Oilers A squad against the Canucks B squad, and obviously the Canucks have dispatched a lot of those guys to the minors or on the waivers today. However, last night was one of those games where you got to enjoy the Oilers and what they are capable of doing this season. And that said, you see in the title, you see by everything you've seen online today, there's one guy in particular who is responsible for a lot of the headlines, that being newly nicknamed Hollywood Dylan Holloway, who looked absolutely phenomenal for the Oilers last night. That said, before we get into anything further, I want to just ask you to take the next 5-10 minutes to consider subscribing to Dolan TV, just simply put, because we are like 33 subscribers away from 9,000. That's pretty crazy. So if you want to take the next whatever it takes me to get through the video to consider that, I would really appreciate that. We've never hit 9,000 before on the channel, so why not do it before hockey starts? Hey, we can do it. We can literally do it in the next week. Anyway, friends, back to Dylan Hollywood. Oh, I knew I was going to mess that up. Dylan Holloway, Mr. Hollywood himself at this point in the Oilers fandom. Right, last year I had the Bison King. This year you have a guy straight from Hollywood, or so it looks like. And he's got some style. He wears that nice silver chain around his neck while he's out there skating during the interviews. He's a stud in the making for the Oilers in the future, and definitely a very marketable player. Obviously, right, last year in the preseason, Oilers Nation nicknamed Brendan Pirolini, Lamborghini Pirolini. There's been a whole bunch of guys over the course of the past years that have gotten a lot of love in the preseasons, and hopefully Dylan Holloway isn't that guy this year. However, we talk about Dylan Holloway and not being that guy. What does he have that a lot of previous guys don't? He's a top half first round pick for the Oilers back in 2020. Second to that, he's a big time pedigree player, right? Having played in the World Juniors a couple years ago, having played in the University of Michigan, was he with Michigan? No, Wisconsin Badgers, I believe. Having done what he did with the Bakersfield Condors last year, he was almost like, I think, 26 or some odd points in 33 games. I know my Baco friends could connect me with the stats lickety split if they're in the chat. But that said, too, right, this guy has succeeded everywhere he has gone, and he has yet to test it at the NHL level. But with last night's big old Hollywood victory for the Oilers, you can bet you that Mr. Dylan Holloway is going to be able to test it at the NHL level. Now the question is, as you see in the title, is he the real deal for the Oilers this year? Well, you look at how he had that chemistry with Leon Draisaitl and, of course, Zach Hyman, and you got to ask yourself, is that something that you could see working in the NHL regular season? I think especially early on, 100% if. And this is where you got to have it. You got to have the Connor McDavid line being just as effective as they were last night every single night. Let that second line have some easier minutes, wear out the top guys on the other team running Connor McDavid out there, and let Leon Draisaitl, Dylan Holloway, and Zach Hyman buck and let them do their thing. 100% it is going to get going. So that's what I'm going to say is for Dylan Holloway, it's not a question of if he's going to make the team. It's how much he's going to succeed early on with things when it comes to the Oilers. And for right now, I think Dylan Holloway can simply just go out there and play his game. You're going to surround him with good players. And the thing, too, is this is not an 18-year-old kid that you're putting into the lineup, putting him in the top six because he's your first-round draft pick from the year previous. That's not what Dylan Holloway is, and that's the beauty of Dylan Holloway this year. He's a guy that's been hanging around the team, battling injuries, kept the skill up. He's done very well to work his way up, played the postseason game last year, didn't look bad. And obviously, too, this is the part that I think everybody misses, because if you watch Dylan Holloway in the World Juniors, you really got to see it a couple years ago, is Dylan Holloway has a lot more to his game than just the offensive upside that we've seen all preseason long. I've made good mention of it in a lot of live streams, is he is a guy who is around the puck. My big word after doing hockey evaluations here in southern Alberta the other weekend is simply put game engagement. How engaged Dylan Holloway is in every shift he's on the ice. He's actively sniffing the puck. He's actively making plays that are going to make plays develop in the near future within that shift. So for Dylan Holloway, right, that engagement level is one of the big things that makes him so useful. And trust me, as he gets adjusted to the NHL game and starts making a couple enemies out there on the ice, I will tell you, watching firsthand the World Juniors in 2021, that Dylan Holloway will indeed, yes sirree, have a physical edge to the game in the top six. That really the only player that brings it is Evander Kane. So that's kind of the thing. Dylan Holloway is going to develop very well, kind of evolving in his role at the NHL level, right? No matter what, he's top nine. But I think now the Oilers have suddenly found a wrinkle in their game where Dylan Holloway on the second line with Leon Draisaitl and Zach Hyman really gives you a good look to do some damage. And two, Dylan Holloway is a guy last night that did not need Leon Draisaitl and Zach Hyman to have the success he had. He was out there with Devon Shore and Jake Virtanen and scored probably the most gorgeous goal of the night. So you can think about that too, is Dylan Holloway is a very versatile player, and if he's going to show that he's a guy that can get the job done himself, 100%, I think everything that I've laid out to you, Dylan Holloway is the real deal. It's just now about applying it at the NHL level, having success at the NHL level, and defining his role at the NHL level as early and as often as you possibly can if you are the Edmonton Oilers coaching staff. That said, too, there is what of Jesse Puljujärvi, the stupidest question asked on Twitter last night, and of course what happens with Kailer Yamamoto. Well, simply put, Warren Foegele being a foregone conclusion given on the third line, that's stupid. That is seriously stupid. I'm not going to even mix bones there. That is stupid that you can't, for whatever reason, move Warren Foegele to the fourth line. 100% you should be able to. It's not like there's a Jake Virtanen on the fourth line or somebody that you've shown loyalty to on the fourth line that you have to have in there. Because so what if you have to have Matthias Janmark waived or Derek Ryan waived? I mean, we're talking about guys that Warren Foegele will replace production plus on the fourth line. So that's where I think Jesse Puljujärvi fits very well on that third line if it's Ryan McLeod and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. And for $3 million to play with those guys, I don't think you're wasting money. I don't think you're wasting talent. I think you're giving the Oilers a top nine unlike anything we've had, right? If people would get over the fact that you have to, for some reason, force Jesse Puljujärvi to be a top line player and force results for him to be a useful player in the NHL lineup, that's where I struggle. Is I love Jesse Puljujärvi, but tell me this, I will tell you, Jesse Puljujärvi can be effective anywhere in your lineup as long as he is given the time to be effective. Sorry, I got to check this here because I got to go back to the live chat. Tobias, good evening and welcome in. Sorry, I just noticed that. And I will scroll through the chats here as we finish this up. I believe that is the Swedish Chrono, I believe is what that is. I think the Oilers have a good team, but will it go far in Stanley Cup playoffs? We're hoping. Joel, my quality has gone up. Yes, I've worked very hard in the return to get the quality up. I'm hoping that we can produce a lot more here in the next little bit. So again, thank you, Tobias, and Joel, thank you for the kind words. Kai, welcome in. And I just want to touch on Brave's comment here. If Dylan Holloway can be a good second line option, that opens up some real options for Holland in the trade market. I think I covered that off with the Jesse Puljujärvi stuff, is it doesn't necessarily cover off Jesse Puljujärvi being traded because I don't get that. But again, I guess you could move Warren Foegele. It's just a matter of how you want to build this Oilers roster, not necessarily on opening night, but throughout the season, I think is the question. Because what if Dylan Holloway doesn't pan out, right? He has a good first 5 games and then suddenly can't find the back of the net. That is the tough question there. But folks, I'm Tyson, this is Dolany TV. Thank you so much for tuning into the car edition. We're going to have a lot more car editions. I think I've got a lot of gigabytes of data on my phone, so whenever I can, I'll just try and throw up a quick live stream off the phone and we'll get it going. But your question tonight, and I want you to answer this in the comments if you're watching, is Dylan Holloway the real deal, and is it time for him to shine or what? Mr. Hollywood himself. Anyway, folks, that said too, I hope you've taken the past 5-10 minutes to consider subscribing. Love to have you stick around here on Dolany TV moving forward. I'm Tyson, Dolany TV, up on, gone.